What's happening, everyone? I'm back! It's me, the man, the myth, the mustache, Timmy here, and I got a brand new video and series for you. Welcome to part 1 of What If Midoriya Had an Esper Quirk. Please, sit back and relax because you are in for an awesome show. So let's get this story going, shall we? It had been an entire year since Midoriya watched Bakugo get his quirk. The explosions that radiated from his friend's palms dazzled the young boy. The emerald-eyed child couldn't wait for his quirk to come in and show it to his best friend. Midoriya and Bakugo had been playing in the backyard of the blonde's house when the crimson-eyed kid decided to tease his friend. Bakugo took the All Might toy that Midoriya had been playing with and told him to come and get it. Every time Midoriya attempted to grab the toy, Bakugo would move it just out of his reach. Frustration began to build up inside of the young Midoriya, with an energy rising in at the same time. "You're being mean! Give it back, Ka-chan!" Midoriya reached a hand out for the toy. His eyes suddenly began to glow, and a strange force wrenched the figure from Bakugo's hand. It flew to a shocked Midoriya and hovered in the air in front of him. He reached out and the force released it directly into his palms. The two children's eyes met, and both of their faces lit up as they ran inside to tell their parents. "Auntie Inko! Mom! Midoriya got his quirk!" That grabbed the parents' attention in an instant. The two women hurried over to Midoriya. He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to find the energy that had made the action figure float. He felt a jolt in his mind, and his eyes snapped open. The green of his eyes glowed the same way they had before. He reached out towards a nearby table where a small picture frame was residing. The object flew over to the boy's outstretched hand and fell right into his palm. The irises of his eyes stopped glowing as he excitedly jumped in place. The two mothers clapped for the boy's discovery of his quirk. Inko teared up slightly that her son had a quirk just like hers. At least, she assumed it was only like hers. A month later, Inko had been cleaning up around the house with her son. The woman bumped against a bookshelf, not noticing a teetering book that began falling towards her head. Midoriya saw the book about to hit his mother and threw his hands out towards her as he shouted. His eyes glowed with power as a force threw the book away from her head, slamming it into a wall. The short woman whipped her head around to look where the book fell before glancing between the shelf and her child. "Izuku, sweetie, did you do that?" She bent down to her son's height. She received a tentative nod from her son and hugged him, thanking him for helping her. The bright smile that he gave her was infectious, as she found herself smiling just as brightly. A week passed, and the Midoriyas found themselves at a local clinic to check on the youngest one's quirk. Their doctor asked many questions before finally performing several tests on the young boy. Several hours later, the two were back together in a room with the doctor. "Well, Miss Midoriya, we ran a brain scan on your son, and were surprised at what we saw." He reached for a nearby clipboard. "His brain is functioning on a higher level than anyone his age. Intelligence aside, I believe that your son's quirk may be related to this. He's likely been moving things with telekinesis." So he's been moving everything with his mind? She thought back to him messing around with his quirks. That explains the headaches when he was playing with his quirk. Mitsuki and I were wondering why he got one that day. We just thought it was allergies. "Indeed. Overuse of his quirk will likely cause him headaches. In addition, he may also feel mental strain or fatigue." The doctor flipped a page on the clipboard. "He should also expect his quirk to grow in strength as he grows older. A quirk like his grows in tandem with his brain. The more it develops, the more his quirk does." "How strong will I get? Do you think I can become a hero? Just like All Might?" The eagerness in the child's eyes made a smile appear on the doctor's face. "I'm sure you'll become an amazing hero." Midoriya's emerald eyes shined at the praise as he grinned back up at his mother. Over the years, Midoriya's quirk did grow in pace with his intellect. The constant brain activity associated with his quirk boosted his intelligence beyond the levels predicted by the doctor. The same growth appeared in his friendship with Bakugo. Despite the blonde always competing with his friend, they always maintained a close bond. Many people were happy about this, as the juniper-haired boy was the only one who could really balance out his friend's temper, which kept him in check. Upon entering junior high, they both made a promise to train and compete together so they could both get into UA. They pushed each other vigorously, both fiercely determined to do their best. They bounced off countless possibilities of what they could do with their quirks, with subjects ranging from defense to movement. By the end of the school year, The two were coasting at the top of their class, the teachers assuring they were shoo-ins for UA. Those specific comments caused exasperation for Midoriya, as he had to ensure that those comments didn't get to his best friend's head. After their last day of school, they'd made their way to the Midoriya household, as they had previously planned, and they took a shortcut to cut down travel time. As they walked, a distinct feeling of dread ran down Midoriya's spine. He stopped, his head whipping around to try and find what was causing the overwhelming feeling.
Hey, Brainiac! What's wrong with you?
Something doesn't feel right about this place, Kacchan. Something's off. He was cut off by the rattling of a nearby sewer grate, as a viscous substance exploded from it.
Gross! What the hell is...
In a flash, the substance surged forward and wrapped around the blonde. A voice emanated from the sludge. It talked about taking over the teen's body and using it to take care of the witness. Realizing the slimy villain was talking about his friend, Bakugo struggled and let his explosions detonate in his palms, only for them to miss the majority of the villain. Anger filled Midoriya as his eyes glowed with psychic power.
Let him go!
A surge of power flew through him and hurled the villain away from Bakugo. The villain landed with a disgusting splat on the wall a few feet from the boys. Bakugo gasped for air as Midoriya bent down to help him. They turned as they heard an enraged cry from the criminal, who threw itself at the two teens, only for an invisible barrier to halt its progress. One of the tricks the duo had come up with for a defensive use of Midoriya's quirk. The sludge villain shook off the original daze to try again, before getting blasted by explosions. The slime villain picked itself up for a third attack when an imposing figure appeared, calling out his signature catchphrase,
I am here!
The number one hero hurled in and slammed his fist into the viscous substance, sending it hurling in all directions. In shock, Midoriya let the barrier dissipate as he stared at their idol. Bakugo's eyes widened to the same size as his friend's, though he would never admit it aloud. The symbol of peace was as much his idol as he was for Midoriya. All Might grabbed an empty bottle on the ground and stuffed bits of the slime into it before sealing the bottle shut.
I apologize for taking so long to arrive, but it seemed you two had it handled.
The man gave a thumbs up to them.
You both fought valiantly against that villain.
Both of the teens' eyes shined at the praise they received from their hero. Midoriya instantly thanked the man for such kind words. Bakugo grunted as he tried to hide how ecstatic he was. Midoriya attentively asked for All Might to sign his analysis notebook. The hero flipped through the book briefly, complimenting Midoriya's attention to detail and incredible thinking process behind it. He signed the front cover as Midoriya nearly passed out from happiness. He gave them both another blinding smile as he bid them goodbye and leapt into the air. Kacchan, did we just...
Meet All Might and get complimented by him? Hell yeah, we did, Brainiac!
The two continued their walk in the sunshine the entire way back to the Midoriya household. The time leading up to the UA entrance exams had already been meticulously planned by the two aspiring heroes in training, each day packed to the brim with both physical and mental training exercises. The meeting with All Might had lit a brighter fire in both of them than anyone else had, fueling their progress. Bakugo had successfully created pseudo-flight by using his explosions as propulsion. Meanwhile, Midoriya had been working with his new psychic barrier, improving its durability and range. In addition, he furthered the strength and accuracy of his telekinesis. They further honed their minds and bodies until time was up, and the day of the entrance exams had finally arrived. After receiving a healthy breakfast and hug from his mother, Midoriya met up with Bakugo before heading to the UA campus. Upon arriving at the gigantic building, Midoriya's eyes stared upwards in awe, tripping over a minuscule ledge. He prepared to faceplant, knowing his friend would just let him fall and laugh about it. He was halfway down when the force of gravity on him ceased, making his eyes snap open. A hand pulled him upright as a brunette girl smiled at him, apologizing for using her quirk, but figuring he wouldn't want to injure himself before the exams. He profusely thanked her as she hurried into the building.
Hurry up, Brainiac. I want to ace these tests already.
I'm coming, Kacchan. You can afford to have some patience, you know. He hurried after his blonde partner, following him inside where they were directed to a testing room for the written portion of the exams. The questions were advanced, even for graduates of junior high. It was a clear sign of the expectations of UA being above just physical and quirk potential. Midoriya finished it in 20 minutes flat, with full confidence of making a perfect score. He sat there for the remaining time, psyching himself up as the students were finally led out of the classroom. Everyone was gathered into an auditorium where the pro hero, Present Mike, was to explain the physical portion of the exams. As Midoriya and Bakugo joined together again, they discovered they would be fighting giant robots. Midoriya didn't even have to look over to know there was a sadistic grin on his friend's face. Midoriya preferred to mentally plan his future actions, eventually realizing how foolish it would be to let any part of your plan be heard aloud unless communicating with a teammate. After explaining the point system of the robotics and receiving a very vague warning of the so-called zero-pointer, the students were rallied to a giant facsimile of a cityscape. Everyone lined up at the start, before going on the vocal hero's admittedly unique cue.
Come on, let's get this party started! Get Boot Scoot and Boogie on everybody before you run out of time!
Everyone split off. Midoriya chose the direction to run in, fully ready to attack on the spot. He spotted a nearby robot next to a lamppost. With his psychokinesis, he removed the post from the ground and used it to impale the automaton. He began a mental tally of all the different robots he had found and destroyed, finishing up another robot when a voice boomed around the city.
That's right, everyone! It's your fan-favorite robot, the giant zero-pointer, coming at you live!
As President Mike made this announcement, the ground began to shake. A feeling of dread similar to the slime villain incident appeared in a pit that formed in Midoriya's stomach. Glowing eyes snapped towards a gigantic machine emerging from a hidden door. He was fully prepared to avoid the daunting sight when a cry for help reached his ears. His eyes moved over to the girl who had helped him earlier, now currently trapped under rubble. Acting on instinct, he ran over to her, promising to help her. He carefully lifted the debris with his psychokinesis, helping her escape. Seeing she was injured, he lifted her into the air with his quirk, being careful as he moved them both to a safer spot. They had cleared out of the way of the zero-pointer, only for a buzzer to sound, signaling the end of the physical portion. Midoriya bit his lip, slightly worried he may not have been able to accumulate enough points. He parted ways with a brunette girl, as he went to find Bakugo to see how he did on his part of the exam. The duo met back at the gates of UA, the telekinetic teen slightly anxious about his performance in the physical portion.
Shut up, Brainiac! You did fine!
The explosive blonde glared at his companion.
And we both know you probably got a perfect score on the written exam, so stop freaking out!
The aggressive attempt at comfort worked, making Midoriya laugh. He shook his head as he thanked his short-tempered friend. You know, Kacchan, I hope you never change. He stopped laughing before smirking. But I'm pretty sure your mom disagrees with me. The blonde started to yell and chased Midoriya, explosions sparking in his fists. Midoriya only laughed as he ran away from his friend, only slightly worried about being maimed by him. The rest of the summer break was filled with impatience from both of the boys, as they awaited the letters from UA. It felt like several eternities had passed before the envelope had arrived. The two had decided weeks ago they would open them at the Bakugo residence together. Now here they were, letters in hand. Bakugo went first, tearing open the letter and extracting a small pad. A beam of light shot from it and formed a hologram of All Might. The #1 hero's smile was just as bright in its holographic form as he announced the blonde's acceptance. As Mitsuki and Masaru squeezed their protesting son in a family bear hug, Midoriya slowly slit open the envelope and pulled out his own holopad, the symbol of peace once more present in the room. Everything seemed to quiet down. A suspenseful air engulfed the room. Everyone cheered as All Might not only said that Midoriya had been accepted, but that he had placed first overall, with a perfect written score and the highest practical score. After a brief moment of confusion, the pro hero revealed video footage of the brunette he had saved offering some of her points to him, only to be politely denied. All Might explained that heroes had to excel at a plethora of things outside of fighting. It was for this reason Midoriya was awarded 60 rescue points, propelling him farther than all other participants. He sat in shock as the hologram shut down and his mother hugged him tightly, bawling her eyes out.
What was that about not doing too well in the physical portion?
Bakugo smirked when his friend couldn't formulate a retort.
Keep in mind, I'm not gonna stop until I beat you. You're never beating me again!
Finally snapping out of his trance, Midoriya just glanced over at his best friend. I won't stop working either, Kacchan. Let's do this! The green-haired Esper was finally on his way. He was going to be one of the best heroes that the world would ever see. And that's our video, and I want to thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Before I go, I would like to let you know that We the Celestials has several other channels for your entertainment and viewing pleasures. All the information you need is right below here in the description. So please feel free to check out all the other incredible content and projects that our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I want to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. And that's all for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and I do hope you have a fantastic day. And please, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and stay awesome. Mustache out!